Hey,
What up?
just the whole listening to the rivalry week.
Yeah.
One, it's still stupid that like people won't just call it the Civil War in the Apple Cup.
Well, we will.
Sounds like that's coming back, or maybe already is back.
It should.
Well, they
but-
haven't renamed it.
Exactly.
No.
It's the Civil War.
And they're not going to. Everyone's calling it the
Why?
Civil War anyways.
Yeah.
Listen, you can't you can take away all the names you want, okay?
Yeah.
But don't expect people to stop using that name unless you give them an alternative.
Yeah. That being said,
Am I wrong?
no, you're 100% right, which is why it's the Civil War.
Thank you.
And no offense, Dennis Dixon, but I don't care. It's the Civil War.
Yeah, Dennis.
Dennis. Dennis is a great name, by the way, to give it. Yeah, Dennis. It's just it works. But it just neither one of these games has any juice to it whatsoever, which is weird because, you know, a couple years ago, Dan Lanning lost the Civil War. Remember, it was like the 36 straight runs or whatever. And then last year, Washington State beat Washington on that stupid. Washington ran the 4th and goal, and they ran the short, side quarterback sweep. So like, it's not like these things have just been so lopsided, but it just feels like in the face of the North Texas game and everything that's going on down in Corvallis, like if you're a Washington or an Oregon fan, are you just like beating up a kid in a wheelchair at this point? Do you take any sort of enjoyment out of what's about to happen? I think Washington fan is going to take a little enjoyment. Like, I think they want Jed Fish to kind of, and remember, Fish comes from the Spurrier school of it's not my job to stop us. That's yours. Fish may try to score 80. I don't think Lanning's going to, and I'm not sure that Duck fan wants him to. Like, it's just, it's a weird spot. It's 75 degrees outside and we're talking about the Civil War. It's at the beginning of the year. It's like, it doesn't feel competitive. It's not going to be competitive. It's a weird vibe. It's a weird vibe for me.
Well, I don't think you're the only one. I mean, I had it in the notes today. It's actually the 315 Segi, but we're going to do it here.
Yeah.
It's Civil War week, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like it.
No.
So, I mean, I think everybody feels that. Look, we just have to ask the tough question.
Yeah.
Just get right to it. Should it even continue?
Mm.
Because, you brought it up. I mean, as recently as 2-3 seasons ago, we had some barn burners in this series.
Yeah.
And it was heated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if the games were closer, like the teams were closer,
Yeah.
we maybe could get over the fact that it's early in the year and not late.
Yeah.
But because the teams, I mean, like Oregon State at this point just feels, especially as good as Oregon is,
Yeah.
it just feels like a charity case.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know about Washington State. I think there's maybe a little bit more heat there still.
Mm-hmm. There is.
But I don't know. If the teams continue, if it continues to be so cavernous between the two teams,
Yeah.
I don't know why we play them.
Well, and that's why I don't want to, me, I don't like rash judgments. I don't like making judgments after, a week or two in a football season or, last year, again, the Apple Cup, Washington State beat them. And 2 years ago in the Civil War, Oregon State won. So it does seem a bit like premature to simply say that like these things are going to be lopsided and there's never going to be another upset. So stop playing them. That seems like an ignorant point of view. Because throughout the history of this, Oregon has had the upper hand and Washington certainly has had the upper hand. But there are definitely still, times where Washington State rises up and Oregon State rises up. So I do think that the popular sentiment right now is just to get rid of these games. And I understand where that's coming from. But at the same time, I feel like it's premature. Like you may have to take your beating for a while. But is it inconceivable to think that Oregon State and Washington State can regain some footing, kind of reemerge in the new Pac-12 as a Boise State, Fresno State-like figure, plant your boots in the ground, take your ass kicking for a couple years, and then try to get back where every couple years, you have close games or you pull off an upset or two. And because that has been, especially in the Apple Cup, that's been the history of this game. In fact, I think the Apple Cup might be the most one-sided, or it might be the second most one-sided rivalry in the history of college football.
Here's what I would say. I would say that I don't think it's a bad. Well, an opinion's an opinion.
Yeah.
You can have any opinion you want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's crazy to want to kill the rivalry games because, one, they're now non-league games. Two, the schools are at such different levels, and three, they're playing them at a different time of year. It's just the vibe is not the vibe is gone.
Yeah.
So why are you playing? Just because they're in-state rival? Well, okay, but it doesn't really even feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
They're on such different levels. Now, If you moved, is it conceivable that an Oregon-Washington could move non-con games like the Oregon State and Washington State game to November?
USC does it with Notre Dame.
So then now you've got me. So I'm one that would say maybe it's time to move on at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But if you told me that no, we're going to move them back to November, I think that that's better.
Yeah.
So now I'm listening, but I just feel, I don't know. It's not like USC Notre Dame.
No.
Well, no. Oregon State and Washington State have been neutered to the point where, I mean, they're not like USC Notre Dame is probably always going to be relevant if you keep playing it.
Sure.
And now that doesn't mean there aren't going to be blowouts or lobsided, series history in there from time to time. But that is not the same as what has happened with Oregon and Oregon State.
Well, then what about someone brought up Georgia Tech, Georgia?
Yeah.
Georgia Tech at one point won a national title in the 90s, and then Georgia Tech has largely been irrelevant.
That's true.
Forever, and they still play.
Well, but they also play at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that's a key.
That
I think
matters.
that's it. I think it does.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Yeah. You mentioned a vibe and a feel.
Sure.
That fall, the November vibe and feel is like, because Joey Harrington talks about it all the time. You guys know we have him on every Friday.
Yes, we do.
5:30.
2 big segments.
He's played in that series, and he talks about it.
Yeah.
When you get to November, weird stuff happens because Oregon State, let's just say they may not have anything to play for if you reschedule it in November. Okay.
Yeah.
But Oregon does, and Oregon can't slip up, or Oregon's got to keep winning in order to make the playoff or whatever. Weird stuff happens when you get a little extra juice on the rivalry game.
Yeah.
In September, it doesn't have that same dynamic.
Yeah.
And so I think you're sort of, again, not to use the term again, but for lack of a better term, you're neutering what makes the rivalry game, what can make the rivalry game special. And so I feel like if you moved it back to November, you may have a chance Georgia's a great example. Georgia Tech just took them to 17 overtimes last year?
Yeah.
You may have a chance to get now Georgia Tech's pretty good right now.
Sure.
But you may have a chance to get a game like that later in the season when it's kind of all maybe one side has left to play for. We've seen that a million times.
Yeah.
Things get wonky in November.
Yeah.
Put it back there and you might have me.
Yeah. Those are all good and valid points.
Suke, you mentioned the one-sided dominance. Washington, not the top, but they are 76-34-6 against Washington State. The most lopsided Bedlam, Oklahoma, is 91-20-7 against Oklahoma State.
Okay, what's the difference in the Cougs?
It's 76-34-6.
Okay, so they've doubled it up.
Yeah,
What's
Oregon?
What's the Civil War?
Let me find that on here.
That's got to be closer, doesn't it?
It's much closer. I think
much
it took
closer.
a while for Oregon to overtake them, actually.
Yeah. But then for a long
wait on the
time, that
list.
was, Oregon ran roughshod over them.
Well, I'm okay with lopsided timeline, like 10
here we
years of
go.
lopsided history, but
It's 69-49-10.
Okay, so
Oregon
that's,
favor.
I want to look here and see year by year, kind of where we're at. Here.
I mean, it does ebb and flow.
It does ebb and flow, but if you look over the last 40 years, so I'm going here, starting in 1975, right?
That's the year I was born.
Oh, there you go. That's fun.
Year of our Lord.
So 75, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 in a row, Oregon State wins one.
Wow.
3 in a row, Oregon State wins one. Then 4 in a row.
Wait, time out. Oregon State won 12 in a row?
No, Oregon won.
Okay.
And
then Oregon State won.
And Oregon State wins one, Oregon wins a couple, Oregon State wins one, Oregon wins a couple. I mean, it has been lopsided. I mean, 2008, even if you want to just go from 2008 on, Oregon, Oregon State, Oregon State, Oregon, here's Oregon State, Oregon. So my point, this is not a competitive rivalry. This is not. Oregon has owned this. Yes, there was a really cool time in the early 2000s where it felt like this game was for the Rose Bowl, and a couple times it was. But largely, this has been a completely unbalanced rivalry. And Oregon State has never had the resources that Oregon has had since Uncle Phil came along. So I guess that's what I'm asking is, what is so different now about it?
Nothing. But I think that...
Other than perception?
Well, but a rivalry series doesn't have to be even. That's not what I'm trying to say. Oregon State is always going to be generally speaking, they're always going to be the underdog, particularly now
the little
where
brother.
Oregon's at. They're always going to be that. But that creates a fun rivalry dynamic. Right. That's where you got the Go Beavers. How about that?
Yeah.
That's
Go Beavers. How about that?
So just because you don't win every year or you lose 5 years in a row doesn't mean you can't rise up in one magical November, or in this case, September, and beat your rival. And that's the fun of those.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, it doesn't, give me a series that's a rivalry series that's really close. They're probably all pretty lopsided towards one school, like Oklahoma State, same thing.
Yeah. But I bet you Michigan, Ohio State. Even I bet you that's probably a little more back and forth. But I know
those schools are more level than Oregon State.
But I guess that's what I'm asking for Beaver fan, because most of the Beaver fans that I talk to, including some ex-Beaver players, a lot of people I've been reaching out to lately. Oregon State's going through some stuff right now.
62-51 favor of Michigan.
Okay. So again, a lot more balanced, and those do have national title implications.
Well, look, a lot more. Can you give me Oregon State again? You said 69-49?
69-49 and 10.
Yeah.
10 times.
And this is 62-51, so it's not that much different.
Yeah, I don't think that there, and maybe there has been, because I was going to say, has there been stretches over the last 20 years where it's just so one-sided? But that's what I'm asking. So I'm talking to a lot of Beaver fans lately, and I've talked to a couple ex-players, and I'm just asking, what do you think? Where does this program go? And one of the questions that inevitably comes up is the Civil War. And I would say that the vast majority of people I talk to don't want to play this game. And
on the Oregon State side?
On the Oregon State side.
Yeah, I don't see why they would.
But I guess that is my question, is what has changed?
Well, someone asked on the YouTube, would it make sense for it to be a pay them scenario? Would you pay them to play this game?
Pay Oregon State?
Yeah, would Oregon State take money to
probably
buoy up their program and continue?
They should, because normally when a Power 4 team is going to play a group of 5, you do usually have to pay them money.
So if you put that dynamic in the mix, would it change things?
Yeah, and maybe that pisses Oregon State off even more, and that we're really your little brother, and maybe that's all it is the perception that you were always the little brother, but now you don't even get to sit at the big boy table.
You have to take money to get your ass kicked.
Yes, and so maybe that's the ultimate insult. I guess I just think for Oregon State, if you really think about it, it's not that much different than what it used to be.
You've always been behind the 8 ball.
You've always been behind the 8 ball, and you've always accepted that you were behind the 8 ball, and you always wanted to play this game. And 2 years ago, think about what that win meant when you beat Oregon. And you did beat Dan Lanning, and you did beat Mighty Oregon. And what a cool moment that was. And now all of a sudden, here we are a couple years later, and yes, you're about to get your teeth kicked in, and it's going to get really bad. You've seen these before. And all of a sudden, you're at the point where you're like, well, I don't even want to play this game anymore. I'm not certain that I can get behind the rationale behind that.
I would push back in one area and say, I see where you're coming from on that, but I think it is different because it's now completely different leagues and completely different schedules.
Yeah.
You are now looking, Oregon State needs to recalibrate how it goes about scheduling.
Yes.
Right? So they're about to get into this new Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm them, I take a long, hard look at 3 cupcakes in the non-con. I know you're going to hate that.
Yeah.
But listen, dude, Oregon State they've just been put in a blender here.
Yeah.
And to come out of that blender, they have to recalibrate some stuff. And it sucks, but why play Oregon State? I think should just give Oregon the bird and be like, dude, all right, you didn't. Yeah. You left. You went to the Big Ten. You left us behind. We're not playing. We're not giving you that satisfaction. We have a new normal, and our new normal is to try to win as many games as we can. I know some people may bitch and moan about that, but we don't care. We have to protect us. Do you first. And I think Oregon State right now is maybe in the spot where they need to kind of change how they go about scheduling and who they schedule. And I think that's okay because it's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that would be the only pushback I would have there. Not only that, but Oregon has become, in this day and age of NIL, this is another thing that's different. Oregon had a lot of great years and a lot of great runs over the last 30, really. But even before that, they did the same. Mm-hmm. This version of Oregon in the new style of college football with NIL is not going away. Yeah. In other words, they are now you could argue that they are now a blue blood of college football
Yes.
because of their resources.
Yes.
That is not going to change.
No.
So that's also different because it used to be that they were more on par resource wise.
Yeah.
They are not, and it's never say never, but that's not going to get close again, dude. Oregon is more in the class of Ohio, what they've built of Ohio State than they are Oregon State and Washington State, and that's a major difference. And Oregon State should look at that and go, all right, that's cool for you. No longer works for us. We're playing Tulsa.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand that. I understand that point of view. I guess I just would push back and say I think that gap, while the gap is bigger, the gap has always been enormous. And yes, your TV money had been the same, but your resources were not. And yes, but
it's worse now.
And it is worse because now, obviously, when you have more resources, you can use those resources to flex more muscle. So I guess maybe that's the gap was always giant in my mind. And yes, it's gotten bigger. And maybe I just don't want to believe that it's so big that there's no longer a place for this. But I mean, it's a valid point you made. I mean, I guess I certainly can see where some people have gone that way. I'm not certain that I would want that.
Well, you can always bring it back.
It's hard. It's hard, man. When it goes away,
I know.
It's hard to bring something
somebody
back.
brought up Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They put that baby on ice.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Look, things change, and I know it sucks to not play that game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just different.
And yeah, I'm like a lot of the people on the text program. This is what I'm saying. Very few Beaver fans that I hear from want to play this game. Beaver alum, season ticket holder.
Does Oregon want to play the game?
I
doubt they do.
I think Oregon, it's more of a whatever. It's a win.
They don't care.
They don't care.
If you're going to have a game on your schedule where you're going to win by 40, it might as well be them. I mean, why not?
I think Oregon is.
It's more fun than Montana State, right?
I do, and I think that's the thing. I think Oregon fan is almost indifferent to it. They're like, whatever, it's a win, but I don't know if even Oregon fan gets a lot of enjoyment. I mean, Buck, you're a Duck fan, right? You went to Oregon.
Boo.
If they win by 50 this week in Corvallis, do you get anything?
No, I mean, you just expect this to be another blowout similar to Oklahoma State and Montana State, and there's supposed to be more juice because it's a rival, but there really won't be.
Can I also offer this? And then we're gonna, we got a break.
Yeah, we do.
We'll launch right into it.
Yeah, yeah.
God, look at us.
Well, it was that just
who'd have thought?
The headline thing kind of threw me. I
Not
was
me.
like, oh yeah, rivalry week.
Ain't nobody got time for that.